Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and I can't sleep. So, because I can't sleep, I figured I might as well be a little productive. Which means most of my viewers in California, sans my dad, who's upstairs, we made it to Sacramento safely, by the way, will probably be asleep. However, some of you in Florida, back east, maybe Texas, some of you may be up and you might join me. I don't know. Either way, this is going to be a live stream. If nobody shows up, that's fine. The video will go up as is. People can watch it a little later. If some people do show up, who knows? We might discuss a little bit. Oh, and there, Alex, one of my favorite mods is here. So, okay, at least one person's here. Now, here's what we're going to talk about. See, I told myself I wasn't going to be making videos while I was out here, and yet I come to a night where I just can't sleep. I'm so excited about the upcoming week. It's hard to sleep right now. So, anyway, I was reading an article. This is the San Francisco Chronicle. And what it is essentially answering about a bunch of the frequently asked questions about AB5. And sorry that it's shaking. I'm holding it. I didn't bring the stand. And I figured it would be good to go over some of these questions for all of you. I will link to the article below afterwards. We're not going to show it, but you know, there's a lot of questions with AB5. What happens to Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash drivers next? This, by the way, also includes like Grubhub and Postmates and everything. So everything falls under AB5 at the moment. And man, they had to sign AB5 this week because I'm reading Arwell's truckers. Well, anyway, let's continue. So here's the first question that a lot of people probably have. At the stroke of midnight on December 31st, will every Uber, Lyft, Postmates, DoorDash driver in the state, plus the other affected workers, turn into employees? Will that happen? And the answer is no. As much as some might want this to be like, waving a wand over the gig economy, it's not how it's going to work. It's way more complex than that, which is what brings us to our next question. What does AB5 actually do? And AB5 codifies, clarifies, and grants exceptions to a 2018 California Supreme Court decision called Dynamex. Both AB5 and Dynamex make it harder for companies to labor workers as independent contractors. They use an ABC test that says workers are employees if A, they perform tasks under the company's control, B, their work is integral to the company's business, and C, they do not have independent enterprises in their trade. It takes effect on January 1st. How is being an employee different from being a contractor? Well, we kind of know that, but basically employees, you get benefits and stuff like that, and like set schedules where independent contractors don't have set schedules and they don't get benefits. They're also supposed to, in theory, be able to set their own rates, but doesn't quite work out for everyone else. Hey, rideshare helper, how you doing? So then the question, why don't companies want to reclassify workers as employees? Well, because it's more expensive. That's why. All those benefits can add at least 30% to the labor costs. Now, what are the ride-hailing companies doing in response to this? Because obviously they're going to have a response. Well, Uber and Lyft have at least they, and more are probably coming, are maintaining that their workers still qualify as independent contractors, even under AB5's stricter test. I doubt that's the case because I think if the drivers still qualified as independent contractors under AB5, I don't think they'd be spending so much effort to not let the bill pass. So they'll make that argument in court and through arbitration, and will not reclassify drivers unless a judge forces them to. They've already made that very clear that they are not going to do that. Now, there are some people who are exempt from AB5. Now, who are those people? Some of the peoples that are exempt from AB5, even though under the way the bill was written would normally qualify for AB5, include doctors, psychologists, dentists, podiatrists, insurance agents, stockbrokers, lawyers, accountants, engineers, veterinarians, direct sellers, real estate agents, hairstylists, barbers, estheticians. I'm sorry. Uh, Maybe I'm tired. Commercial fishermen, marketing professionals, travel agents, graphic designers, grant writers, fine artists, enrolled agents, payment processing agents, repossession agents, and human resources administrators. There are also exceptions apparently for photographers, photojournalists, freelance writers, editors, or newspaper cartoonists who make 35 or fewer submissions a year, as well as some types of business-to-business activities. Now that's interesting for me because I actually have typically more than 35 publications a year. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to me in that circumstance, especially since I typically write under a pseudonym. But let's continue. So, what do workers who haven't been exempted from this want? And that's going to definitely vary from person to person. So this might be a simplified answer, but some ride-hail drivers and other gig workers want to be employees and some don't. That's the fact. Translators, some medical professionals, and truck owner-operators seem uniform in their desire to remain freelancers. Among other professions, there's no clear conscience. So, the rideshare, it's definitely a little bit more mixed, to be precise. Now, I think the people who wanted it to happen are a lot more vocal on my site. But when I did the live stream yesterday and we were discussing AB5, I asked people to give a thumbs up if they were happy that AB5 had happened, and a thumbs down if they were not happy it happened. That can apply to this video too if you want. And actually, the funny thing is, because of everything that's been going on this week, there were so many thumbs down that I freaked out, like, oh my gosh, is my channel tanking that bad, before I realized I actually asked for this. So if those thumbs down are to be believed because they were for AB5, there was roughly more than a quarter of the view of the 300. Well, okay, at the time, there were 225 people who had thumbs up. They were okay with it. And there were like 107 people who thumb voted down. They were not happy with AB5. That's not half, obviously, but it's a lot closer than I expected. So, but from everything that I've been reading, the translators and the medical professionals, and specifically the truck owners, they definitely are not happy with AB5, and they're also not happy with not being exempted from AB5. And I definitely sympathize with the truck owners, because the reason they probably weren't exempted from AB5 is because if they get an exemption, then it undermines not giving Uber and Lyft an exemption, because, the whole driving thing. Now then, what does organized labor have to do with any of this? Well, unions want to organize Uber and Lyft drivers and others because money. I'm not going to say unions are completely evil. I think they have their place in certain situations. I would prefer them not to be there for the most part. But they definitely push this because, when they can sign up a new class of workers, they can collect union dues, and they make a lot of money that way, especially since the vast majority of workers they represent don't actually need help from the union. But bottom line, expect a bill to be introduced in 2020 allowing gig workers to unionize. But then that brings up the question, without a union, and with Uber and Lyft, or at least Uber basically telling everyone that they're not going to follow this anyway, how will AB5 be enforced? And it's a good question. It's a fair question. And here's the answer as written by the San Francisco Chronicle. Various California agencies, including the Labor Commissioner's Office, the Employment Development Department, and the Franchise Tax Board, have authority over workers' misclassification. But their efforts mainly happen via individual cases. For larger cases, expect to see a rash of lawsuits, both from the private bar and from the public attorneys. AB5 empowers the Attorney General, city attorneys in large cities, and local prosecutors to sue companies over violations. The city attorneys of San Francisco and Los Angeles both appear ready to act on this. It would take a judge's order to force Uber and Lyft to reclassify, and it's likely they'd fight their case for years. So that is what can happen there. Because, I mean, here's the thing. The way I understand this is the EDD and the FTB. Yeah, they can enforce this. They absolutely can. Boy, it's been a while since I've had to hold the camera. But they'd have to do it on like kind of an individual basis, and that could take like a long time. Hi, Roy. Haven't watched your video yet, by the way, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. I hope you went easy. No, you didn't go easy on me. I know you didn't. Anyway, so, but then you have a bunch of private lawyers. Private lawyers are definitely going to make out the most with this. They will be suing for, these companies for a lot of drivers. They will be easily negotiating a lot of settlements, of which they will take most of that money. Lawyers will make out the best in this situation. So, and as stated, a judge could force them to reclassify, but it might take years for that to happen. Now then, does AB5 have ramifications beyond California? And here's the thing. Trust me, bro, I think you'll like it. Oh, well, maybe I'll watch it afterwards then. Here's the thing about this. I'm going to read what their answer is, but I'm going to slightly disagree with this just a little bit, because this person wrote, yes, California is a trendsetter. Other states, including New York, are eyeing similar bills. At the national level, Senator Bernie Sanders, independent Vermont, has introduced the Workplace Democracy Plan, which takes a similar approach to AB5. He and many other Democratic presidential candidates, including Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, I'm trying, and Julian Castro support AB5. No surprise. Here's the thing. I wonder if the AB5 really had ramifications outside of California, because I know we're a trendsetter, but it seemed like most of the states were kind of heading in that direction anyway. Like Seattle is working on a minimum wage and a tax. New York City has started regulating the rideshare to less than desirable effects for the most part, but it still seems to kind of be working for the most part. So we just don't know. That's the bottom line. But I do believe that, if AB5 succeeds in doing what people want it to do, then yes, it will definitely spread wider to other states. It might not, though, because here's the thing, that I don't want to be, well, okay, I don't mind being cynical once in a while. I know this is a very personal bill for a lot of people. The main reason this bill was written and the main reason it was passed is to collect taxes. California wants their cut. Now, if Uber and Lyft do leave the state, which is possible, it's still debatable, but it's possible, and they don't get their cut, then other states might at the very least try something different. But it's about money to a certain extent. Now, why do Uber and Lyft care so much about this? Well, it should be pretty obvious. We've talked about it. But just in case anyone brand new is watching this who hasn't really been following the videos, both companies are newly public and lose money hand over fist. Which, the funny thing was, they lost money hand over fist beforehand, and it wasn't really news until they went public. But that's another topic. Treating their California drivers as employees could cost Uber $500 million a year and Lyft $290 million a year, according to a Barclays analyst. I think they're basing that on the size, but here's like actually kind of the scary thing. Uber and Lyft tend to lose roughly the same amount of money most quarters, which actually brings a really valid question, where it's like, just because you're giving more rides, does that mean, if you're giving more rides, why are you losing the same amount of money or a similar amount of money to the people who are giving out less rides? I don't know about that. But anyway, the companies say their business models rely on flexibility and that it will be harder to ensure that rides are always available with an employment model, which I agree with. I definitely agree with. I mean, I used to do the red eye um, the the red eye time slots for a long time, mainly because of surge. And then there were a couple, but then there would be times where it's like I'd just be bored in the afternoon. So okay, I turn on the app and I go driving. And I mean, heck, now that I'm going to be a married man soon, I might be getting like a Prius next year. Like, I mean, I might actually hold off on getting the Prius now because I was actually going to do a little bit of Uber and Lyft when I got the Prius because it's like the Prius, it's still pretty profitable to do this, at least for Uber. And this definitely changes that a little bit. So, it will affect them for sure. Um, so, um, okay, I see no crybaby and Alex having a little bit of a, no crybaby. It just dawned on me. Wait, I should actually really have you on on the channel sometime, just so we could have a discussion about whatever. With our two charming personalities, that should be fun. So, the next question: if ride-hail drivers become employees, how would their working conditions change? Well, they'd have set schedules for one thing. That's what I'm just saying right off the cut. But here's the thing: Uber and Lyft says drivers' current ability to log in and log out at will would vanish. I'm going to pause right here. Maybe the writer gets back to this. That's not true. They can choose to keep you flexible if they want to. This has been a scare tactic for a long time. Really, the working conditions, the main way they would have to change, in my opinion, is they'd have to give drivers the ability to be flexible with the money that they charge. Again, AB5 does not get rid of independent contractor status. It just makes it a little bit harder for what classifies as independent. And if Uber and Lyft want to bend the knee, so to speak, and follow the rules on what's independent contractor, and I think one of them does mean letting the drivers pick their own rates. It really does. Then they can do that, and they could let you log on and off whenever you want, even as employees. There are employers out there where it's like set your own hours. Heck, they could even do like a system where it's like, hey, you have to do 20 hours a week. We don't care when you do it, but you have to do 20 hours a week to get this. Who knows? They say they would have to impose set schedules, bar drivers from working for competitors. They actually don't have to do that. People get jobs at McDonald's and Burger King all the time, and limit the number of drivers so they're not paying for idle time. I mean, that is true. No one likes to pay for idle time, it's funny that now they're complaining about this when the drivers have been complaining about it for a long time. AB5 proponents say these are scare tactics. Nothing in this act is intended to diminish the flexibility of employees to work part-time or intermittent schedules or to work for multiple employers, says language added to AB5 this month. Actually, I'm just thinking about this right now. Maybe Uber and Lyft could get away with this by doing basically like an Amazon Flex block style thing. Because Amazon Flex has blocks, and maybe that's what they can do. Maybe that's something that can happen for, this to become a thing. Now then, will Lyft and Uber rides cost more if drivers are employees? I don't know why that fell down. This answer right here is a little bit more nuanced, but I'm going to go on a limb and say yes, because unless Uber and Lyft completely want to absorb the higher costs, of course, the prices are going to be higher. Now, what other impacts might consumers see? And generally, the cost of goods and services might go up as companies seek to recoup added labor costs. Healthcare providers say they might not be able to staff remote clinics or hard-to-fill jobs if they are forced to hire medical specialists who prefer flexible work as employees. So that's that's something that can happen with the medical industry. Now then, so anyway, so anyway, yeah, no, crybaby. Oh yeah, the email address isn't below. Yeah, yeah, that might be fun. Let's talk about setting that up sometime. So, what is the alternative proposal from the ride hail companies? Well, the companies want to create a new category of workers called network drivers who would be independent contractors but able to receive an earnings guarantee and some benefits, as well as having a unified voice to communicate with management. Uber has suggested an earnings floor of 1.27 times minimum wage, calculated as a weekly average, plus 30 cents a mile for expenses. Lyft has suggested $21 an hour, including expenses. Both would apply only from the time a driver accepted a ride until the ride concluded, not the deadhead waiting time. I do believe that a third classification would probably be best for everyone. I don't know exactly what it would look like, but here's the thing. I know it wouldn't look like this if it was my ideal world. Because, first of all, right now, Lyft brag that you can make $25 to $30 an hour. Well, now they're offering a 21 guarantee. That's going lower. So that's already like a problem. But here's the thing, the fact that they don't want to pay for dead miles and stuff, it actually doesn't sound that different from what's currently going on. Maybe it would be different in practice. It just doesn't seem like it. It seems like Lyft definitely wants to keep some things the way they are. So there you go. How are Uber and Lyft trying to make their proposal a reality? Well, here's how. The companies still want to negotiate with labor leaders and lawmakers in hopes of a legislative solution. Governor Gavin Newsom says he encourages the talks to continue. But if that doesn't happen, they will take their cause directly to the voters. Which brings us to the ballot proposition. Because Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash have contributed $30 million apiece to fund to work towards placing a measure on the November 2020 ballot, aka $90 million overall. While the text won't be written until next month, which it's interesting that they all contributed a lot of money to something that they didn't even have written out yet. That goes to show how reactionary they are to a certain extent. It's likely to seek to create a network driver category of independent contractors with a wage floor and some benefits, but not include a driver voice component. And no crybaby rights. I'm going to tell you now, LOL. If Lyft hired me, I could come up with stuff that drivers would beg not to be employees. I'm sure you could. Now, what happened at the last minute with newspapers? Now, this was interesting for me because I write for newspapers sometimes, in case you didn't know. So this was where I was gonna. I do freelance work, writing work. So AB5 is definitely interesting to me on that level too. But apparently, newspapers say that reclassifying delivery carriers would hurt them financially. They won a 1 year reprieve on this via AB 170, a bill that passed both houses Friday evening at the last moment of the current legislative session. They hope the breathing room will help them devise alternative rules, which I think is fair. I mean, it is. I think the thing with the newspapers probably highlighted like a bigger issue beyond rideshare with independent contractors because I didn't even realize how many industries were going to be affected by AB5 when we first started talking about this. And once you saw the list, it did raise the question, why do we have so many people, um, so many jobs like this? So, I don't know. It's just kind of the way it is. Now, here's the final question. And we'll probably wrap it up very quickly afterwards because there's only like 18, 20 people here. That's fine. It's 4:30 here and it's like 7:30 back east. So again, I just couldn't sleep. So I figured we'd talk about this now. Is AB5 set in stone or could there be more legislative changes? This is probably the one that most people want the most interest in. And here's what the San Francisco Chronicle has written. There could be more changes when the legislature reconvenes in 2020. For one thing, industries such as truck owner operators continue to lobby fiercely for exemptions. For another, Uber, Lyft, and other gig companies still hope to win passage of their alternative, and labor will be seeking the right to unionize for gig workers. So things could still change. It's not over yet. That is as comprehensive as a list of Q&As that I was able to find. There were several news organizations that had their own Q&As. This one by Carolyn Said seems to be the most comprehensive, so that is why we discussed it from this. Again, I will link the whole article below after this live stream ends. So it's so AB5 is going to be like a hot topic for a while. Now, you might, and because of AB5, that's one of the reasons why we will not be completely giving up rideshare on this channel. You will notice this week that many of the videos that I upload aren't going to be rideshare related. That's because I am moving the channel in a different direction. Why are you up so early? Well, kind of a combination of things. It's I mean, admittingly, it's been a little bit of a stressful week. Some of which I probably brought on myself. But for the most part, it's just excitement. I'm just so, I'm really for the most part so excited for the wedding. And maybe I'm a little anxious about the wedding too. I mean, maybe it's butterflies in the stomach. Maybe that's probably more of what it is, because I've really been thinking about the wedding more and more. It kind of like this mixed feelings of I'm so excited to be marrying this woman, and then there's like that realization, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be married. Am I really ready for this? I probably am. Don't worry. I'm not gonna get jitters to like she's not gonna be left at the altar. In fact, if every night is like this, I'm probably gonna be at the altar 5 hours before the wedding even begins. Maybe 7 or 8. I'll be there 5 hours before the photos. So it's gonna be a fun, great weekend. And in fact, a lot of family members are coming in today. It's gonna be great to spend time with them. This is a great way to recharge. So, you know, and of course to get away from the drama. I might have to address the drama one more time, but that will for sure be the end of it. If there's one more video, it will be a definitive walking away. But it just, yeah, so it's a little combination, but it's more the wedding stuff. There's excitement, jitters, all that jazz. So anyway, and then the AB5 stuff hit. So the funny thing is, even though I made videos in advance, shoot, you might see me in the morning doing some live streams talking about the new news, just, guerrilla style, because, I mean, it's just important. We need to talk about it. So, anyway, let's see here. Remember, a ring and paper doesn't make you husband. Your ability to communicate and compromise will make you a great husband. Oh yeah, I know. I've been practicing that already. The interesting thing is, despite what everyone's impression of me might be this week, I actually am very good at compromising, and I humble myself to Katie a lot, like a lot. I mean, she says do this, and I'm like, if she says jump, I say how high. That's how it's working. So thankfully, she doesn't she doesn't ask me to jump too often. She one time she did require at one point that I had to have a picture of us as my wallpaper on the cell phone, which was like, okay, honey, sure, why not? So, but she's just so much fun to be with. She is so much fun to be with. So, anyway, so we've hit 30 minutes, and thank you. It's so nice to see you guys here, of course. So, it was but I probably should try to get some sleep at this point. So it's funny when I saw "What's Up, Crybaby." I kind of rolled my eyes. It's like, oh, wait, that's right. We literally have a crybaby in the room. Sorry, I must be tired. That I found that more funny than I should have. Can you send a Burkcopter to come to your wedding? I don't think so. Um, like I said, so anyway, I'm gonna try to get some. I found that way too funny. I must be getting tired at this point. So, you know, anyway, yeah, I'm gonna try to get some sleep now. So, yeah, anyway, so people are gonna have two videos today. The next video will premiere at 6:30. So, and anyway, yeah. For everyone else watching this, you know the drill. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. Thumbs up if you're happy about AB5. Thumbs down if you're concerned. Feel free to be honest. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.